Welcome to Upticks with Jake Falcon, founder and CEO of Falcon Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, we help high net worth individuals overcome financial complexities. We do this by enhancing financial literacy and discussing topics in a language free from industry jargon. Join us as we help explain exactly what having a solid financial plan means, as Jake draws from years of experience in helping hundreds of individuals get financially organized and focused on their goals. We hope you find Upticks educational, entertaining, and shareable. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode 207, How to Make Work Optional. Jake, thank you for joining back on another episode of Upticks.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. I'm thrilled to be here.
You know, we've been getting the two Jakes a lot lately.
Yeah, we have. It's J squared, as some say.
Ooh, maybe that could be a sub firm that we open up one day, J squared. I like that.
I like it.
You know, and I always mention this, you're too young. I think it was the Bob Newhart show, Jake. You're going to have to Google that and go watch an episode, because he had this line where he would say, "This is my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl." I guess both of his brothers' name were Daryl.
Interesting.
And we're not brothers, but we definitely both have the same name, Jake.
Yeah, I need to go check it out then.
Yeah, it was a pretty funny show. Long time ago. Ask your parents; they probably know about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So for today's topic, though, we want to talk about how to make work optional. And I think I saw this out there on social media as an alternative use of words rather than retirement. And I really liked it, because for many of our clients, retirement certainly isn't, they don't see it as the finish line. They see it as actually a launch pad to go and do something else. We have clients that have started new businesses, got into real estate, travel more, spend time with their kids, volunteer. They do all types of things in retirement. And they were able to do so because ultimately their job in corporate America became optional. So today, Jake, you and I wanted to talk about 5 steps that individuals can take to help set themselves up to make work optional. And again, I had a great meeting with a client last night, and we were talking about, he's starting to get a little bit anxious about retirement. And I told him that's certainly normal and fine. And I told him, said, hey, you know what? Next year, work is optional for you, but that does not mean you need to stop working or even leave your job. And so, Jake, do you have any comments on that from your experience in meeting with our clients before we dive into the five tips here?
Yeah, I think, as we all know, like money is super, super emotional for everyone. Might look a little bit different from person to person, but money will always be emotional. And I think being able to have a solid financial plan, and like you alluded to, just being in a position where you don't have to work anymore, gives people a lot more confidence and de-stresses their total environment and their emotional well-being. And I think it's super, super important, because there's a lot of things, like you mentioned, the word retirement is not really a thing anymore. And so if they can be in a position where they're financially independent, they might be able to make a move and go do something that they actually really, really enjoy. Not that they don't like their corporate world, but they want to pursue something that might have been a side hobby, right? Something that they've always done, but haven't done full time. And sometimes it might work out better, right? There's a lot of things that go into it. And this topic of work optional, I think it's pretty broad. And I think there's a lot of subtopics, some of which we'll get into today on a high level, but I think it's a very important word to understand.
Yeah, thank you. You're exactly right. And if I was a betting man, I'm not really much of a betting man, but I would also, next year when this particular client is able to be financially independent and knows that he doesn't have to work, his wife's going to work a few more years anyhow. I bet, and again, I'm not a betting man, but I bet he ends up working 1, 2, maybe 3 more years, because he loves his job, Jake, by the way. But, I think if he goes into work knowing he doesn't have to be there, he might actually enjoy it that much more. And I've seen clients do that, actually. I've seen them hang on 2 or 3 more years because they know they don't have to be there. So going into work, whether they're working remotely now or actually going into an office or wherever that may be, there's a different mindset knowing you're choosing to be there versus having to be there. But ultimately, we at Falcon Wealth Advisors, we want to get you to a point where work is optional. So again, it's your choice, and you don't feel so connected to your employer. You don't have to succumb to your boss. If your boss is a jerk, you can leave. So again, we want to get you to a point where, like you mentioned, you're financially independent. All right, good. All right, good. So let's go into step number one here. So step number one is save early and save often. And what I mean by this one, Jake, is, and again, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you have a tremendous opportunity because you can allow compounding to take over. But we like clients to save early in their careers. And again, if it's later in your career, it's not too late, but save often. And so that what I mean by this is don't only save in your 401k. If you qualify for a Roth IRA, put money in a Roth IRA. If you don't qualify or you have extra money, put money in a brokerage account or a savings account. Save just to save. And my second part of this, and I'll let you chime in before we go into number two, is you want to invest wisely. Literally, by making poor investment decisions, and I'm talking about over many years and decades. Everyone's going to have a bad year from time and time again, but you want to make sure that your investments are properly aligned with your financial plan, because if you have things misallocated over decades, it could literally cost you thousands, if not millions of dollars, depending on the size of your portfolio. So again, don't only save in that 401k. If you're young and you're watching or listening to this, or maybe you have kids or grandkids, encourage them to save early, save just to save, and then make sure that your investments are properly aligned. And again, you're going to get that working with the fiduciary wealth advisor, like your friends here at Falcon Wealth Advisors. Did I miss anything on step number one here, Jake?
I think step number one, you can unbundle a lot with that. But like you alluded to, if you can save early, it's going to be much, much easier. Now, I can't remember the exact statistics on this, but if you wait just 5 to 10 years, you essentially will have to double, if not triple, the amount that you were saving before or weren't saving, just to catch up. So in terms of your financial plan and essentially your life, doing the things you want to do young, if you can save early, whether it's $50, $150 a month, whatever fits in your cash flow, I would just start doing it. And secondly, savings the first part, but the second part is investing those dollars, right? I see a lot of younger folks that have built up very big savings accounts or checking accounts, and kudos to them for being disciplined and actually saving. But the second thing is you need to actually invest those dollars, because as we know, in today's time, inflation is extremely high. Now, it won't always be this high, of course, but right now it is. And if those dollars are just sitting in a bank account, not earning anything, well, your ability to use those dollars in the future, purchasing power, actually goes down. For example, if you had $100 in there, next year, if inflation was at 3%, well, if you didn't earn anything on those dollars, that $100 is really like $97. So it's important to invest those dollars. And I think building a properly structured portfolio that aligns with your financial plan is huge. And there's a lot of things that go into it, but my last comment on that is be fully diversified. A lot of people don't understand what this really means. And this can be counterintuitive, but in a sense, you want some stocks in your portfolio to be down while most of them are up. It sounds counterintuitive, but you really want that to be fully diversified. For example, right now, while we all know that most stocks are down, we have a handful of stocks that have done really well this year, right? So it's being able to be diversified, and that will make your portfolio way more efficient overall.
Yeah, that's really good, Jake. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And particularly with younger individuals, I think they have a bias because they grew up during 2008, right? And then they've obviously been in this pandemic. And so they're oftentimes too conservative with their investments. So you're right, you got to be very careful on that. And again, I don't like that excuse that like some people in their 20s or 30s will say, well, Jake, I'd love to save, but I've got student loans, I've got a mortgage, I've got 2 kids. I just can't do it. You really can't not afford it. It's double negative. You can not afford to do it because again, you're really just putting yourself behind, and you're going to have to work in some cases, maybe a whole nother decade, just because, like you said, you didn't put $200 or $300. I mean, everybody can typically find that in their budget, unless you're running it literally to the dollar. And then maybe you need to go get a second job, right? But there's things that you can do to set you and your family up so that you can ultimately make work optional. Very good, Jake. So what about our second step here that we wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, this is a good transition. So the second thing is, and this, hopefully you've talked with your financial planner or wealth advisor on this, but you got to find things that you really value and enjoy and spend your dollars on that. Don't necessarily spend, we want to make sure that you're spending wisely, right? That you're focusing on things that you enjoy and not so much just random things that you think you might enjoy. Have a very honest conversation with yourself and figure out what do you like and what do you not like.
Right. These financial gurus drive me crazy that say, cut coffee out of your life, and you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 50 or whatever. And that may work for some people, depending how much, I guess, money they're spending on coffee. But my point is, I don't drink coffee, but if you like coffee, in my opinion, you should feel comfortable spending money on coffee, right? But if you're out there wasting money and just buying coffee because that's what you've always done, but you don't particularly enjoy it, well, then that's when you need to revisit. And really what we're suggesting here is you want to align your values, your purpose, things that you enjoy with your capital and your money, and make sure that you're spending that. But don't just go blow money to blow money. Or the worst thing would be to keep up with your neighbor, right? If your neighbor buys a boat, don't go buy a boat, right? Unless you happen to love the lake and want to do those things. But again, so don't try to keep up with the Joneses. And again, align. And like you said, Jake, I like that. Be honest with yourself. Take a self-check and inventory if you're married with your spouse. Say, what are things that we enjoy doing? And let's put our money towards that. And let's cut out some of the stuff that we don't, enjoy doing, right? So I don't drink coffee, Jake. I save probably thousands of dollars on coffee because I don't drink it, right? But I play a lot of golf. So you know what? My coffee money goes into golf because I like to play golf, right? And so, but I'm not just buying coffee to buy coffee or whatever. So I personally work hard not to waste money on things I don't value, and I want to spend money on things that I do.
Yep, I 100% agree. And a good way to find these things out is, one, have a conversation with yourself, your spouse, your friends, your wealth advisor, your financial planner, people that surround you. Secondly, look at your credit card statement, right? Or your checking account statement. Because in today's world, a lot of things are on automatic pay, which is good and bad, right? I think it's good just to automate things. But secondly, if it's silly discretionary spending, sometimes you can get caught with just forgetting about it, and is charging your credit card or debit card every month. So look through your statement, see if there's something that you're like, oh, I forgot about that, and I don't ever do that. So we can just cut that out.
That's
and
really good,
save
Jake.
yourself money.
Yeah, so if you've got Netflix, Paramount, Hulu, HBO Max, right? But you haven't watched HBO in 6 months, why are you paying for it? That's a really good, or Disney Plus, whatever, right? Why are you paying for it? That's really good. And clients of Falcon Wealth Advisors already have access to this really fantastic tool, in my opinion. It's called eMoney, which is where our financial planning software, that's the software that we use in the financial plan, sits. But you can actually link up your spending, and again, this is already included in what you're paying us as clients of Falcon Wealth Advisors. But you can link up, and this tool will help you track your spending, and that way you don't even have to keep a spreadsheet or worry about it. You literally just go in there. If something's categorized wrong, you can switch the category that it falls in, and then every quarter, every 6 months, every year, you can review and be like, wow, I spent a lot of money going out to eat, all right, or on DoorDash or Grubhub. I don't want to do that. So in 2023, I'm going to grocery shop a little bit more, and I'm going to cook more, not only to be healthier, but also to save some money. So again, you can really identify and pinpoint some of these places. And hopefully that will allow you to get a little bit more confident. And again, we're trying to get you in that direction of making work optional. It's also going to help you understand how much money you need to live off of when you ultimately decide to leave your job in corporate America. It's a good one, Jake. All right. So the third one that we want to bring up, that's again 5 steps we're talking about today, is pay off dumb debt and leverage smart debt. And what I mean by that is, in my opinion, dumb debt would be credit card interest, right? Some of these credit cards are charging 15, 20%. Or if you got a Nordstrom card, those can be outrageous as well. don't let those balances roll over. Pay those off. It's very difficult to earn that type of return year in and year out in any investment. So again, you're just purging and costing yourself money. Leverage smart debt would be if you're lucky enough to have a 2 or 3% mortgage. There's no reason to go pay that off early if you've got credit card debt that's costing you 20%, right? So be smart, leverage smart debt, and then pay off dumb debt. Jake, you want to add anything to this step?
Yeah, I think debt is very controversial, but I think in a financial plan, in terms of investing, debt can be very advantageous. And like you said, there are a lot of dumb debts out there. I think credit cards can be super useful for the right person. I think you need to have discipline with it, because if you aren't paying your balance in full every month, or your last statement balance in full every month, and you're subject to those extreme high interest rates, well, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation and see if there's a certain way that we can utilize other assets to help pay that off in a strategic way. And I think there's a lot of people that don't understand some of these smart debts. For example, like you said, a mortgage can actually be a very smart debt, right? It could amplify, in terms of a rental investment, it could amplify your returns. You can have tax deductions, so there's tax benefits with mortgages if you itemize things like that. Student loan debt actually is not necessarily a bad debt. There's some tax benefits with it. You can help build credit early on with it. It could be like emotionally not great sometimes, right? People don't like having student loan debt, but it can be useful in certain ways, right? So just understanding these different debts and how they actually align to your financial plan, and essentially how can we take these debts to achieve our goals that we want, I think is super important, and sometimes it's overlooked.
Right, right. That's really good. And I'm glad you brought up the emotional side of debt, because there's two theories on it. There's this snowball theory where you basically take the lowest bill. So you line up all your debt and whatever's the lowest balance, you work hard to pay that off first, and then you go to the next highest, the next highest. And what this does is this creates emotional quick wins. So someone, maybe they have, Jake, maybe they have 3 credit cards, a mortgage, a car loan, student loans, right? So they've got 5 or 6 things that they're paying on. That can help get people to gain confidence and have a sense of accomplishment. And then mathematically, it makes sense to pay the higher earning or a higher interest debt off first, because again, you'd be losing money by paying more interest if you delayed paying that off early. And then some people, again, just want to wipe all their debt away, which again, that's fine, but we want to make sure that you don't make necessarily an emotional decision to sacrifice a smart investment decision. Because many of our clients are debt-free, and that's fantastic. But we haven't done that, or haven't talked about getting that accomplished by sacrificing their financial plan, right? So if you have a $400,000 mortgage and you're going to pull $400,000 out of your IRA to pay it off, well, we want to look at that and look at the tax implications and see what that's going to do damage-wise to your cash flow in retirement or once you make work optional. So again, you just want to make sure you're not getting overly emotional about your debt, and we want to help guide you to make good financial decisions.
Good, I like it. And the next thing, Jake, is developing some sort of passive income, right? If you want to be financially independent, if you want to have work optional, well, you need to have a solid financial plan. And within a solid financial plan, very well could be various sources of income, whether passive or active. But in this case, we want to talk about passive income and how it can really be beneficial for your plan, and what types of passive incomes are there. So for example, a rental home, if you're investing in commercial real estate, there's all sorts of different things. Pensions can be technically passive income. Social Security is technically passive income. So there's all different types of these income streams that will be beneficial to make work optional for you.
Right. Good one, Jake. And some of our clients' financial plans, and I'll let you chime in on this, are the most solid, that they have a big bucket of this income stream, right? So they're not relying on market appreciation as much for their retirement income. And like you mentioned, so pensions, which not many people have those anymore, but our clients that do, have good pensions, that really helps the plan. Social Security, rental income, maybe you had a condo or a smaller home and you're renting that out. Corporate commercial real estate, also dividends, right? So in our investment portfolio, dividends, bond interest, and even some options premiums for clients that are approved to do options. All of this income adds up, and ultimately, if we can set up your portfolio so that you're getting enough income from various sources, diversified sources, you may never have to touch your principal in retirement. And that bodes well for a perfect, an ideal scenario. I shouldn't say perfect, but an ideal scenario and a work optional arrangement. But you looking at the plans, Jake, wouldn't you argue that those are some of the best plans you see when people have a lot of money in that income pool?
Yeah, it is. And essentially what we do is we take what your spending goal is, right? If you want to spend 10,000 a month net, well, we say, okay, great. Then we have these various different income streams. How can we structure those to be the most tax efficient, income efficient, and back those in to that goal? And then what's left could be from distributions from your investment and retirement accounts. But generally speaking, you're exactly right, Jake. Most clients that have various passive income streams typically are the most sound financial plans. Just because you're not dependent on one certain income stream, you have various income streams. And in a way, you can pick and choose where the income comes from in certain times during certain market conditions and just be more efficient overall. So I would highly encourage people to start thinking about it. I think we're obviously stock and bonds guys, but we do understand real estate is super important, right? So if someone has a good real estate deal, we're not going to discourage them from doing it, right? We're fiduciaries. If it's in your best interest and you really enjoy something like that, let's talk about it. Let's figure out a good way to structure that. So I think it's really important.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, you're a good point. We have a new client that we recently agreed to work with, and a lot of his net worth is in income producing real estate. And shame on a lot of advisors that remember this, Jake? He told us that, they kind of shied away from working with him but we're like, no, we're going to incorporate that into your financial plan. Sure, we'll help you invest other assets, but we're not going to not talk to you because you don't have stocks and bonds for us to invest, right? Because like you said, we're fiduciaries. We want to help people with their overall financial plan. And ultimately, we want to get everyone to a work optional piece here. And so with our fifth step here, it would be have a side hustle, right? And so whether that's part-time work, I've got clients that work or we've got clients that work at golf courses, maybe have part-time work, consult, do something for fun that pays them a little money. They love it. And again, they don't have to be there, but it definitely helps that income stream as they're working towards leaving corporate America. So again, this doesn't have to be something that's stressful. If you are going to have a side hustle or part-time work or consult, it should be something that you enjoy doing, is good for you from a community standpoint, from a social standpoint, and you get financially rewarded for it, right? So you make a little bit of money in return for your time and effort and expertise, whatever that is, in the subject that you're working on. Do you have any comments on that, on clients that are working after their big job at corporate America?
I do. I think more people should do this if they have the time or the interest, because we talk a lot about purpose while approaching quote unquote retirement, right? Or being work optional, but you got to find something that you really enjoy. Too many folks that don't have good financial planners or wealth advisors that start this conversation with them, they fall into retirement and then they fall into this mental state where, well, they worked for so long and they have this identity behind them with work in that corporate America job. Well, when they get into retirement, they're just John Smith, right? So they have trouble with that. And I think it's crucial to have a side hustle or find something that you're really passionate about before going into retirement. And that way you can have a smooth transition. The money's great. And of course, it does help financial plans and investing. But I think it's more of being emotionally sound while you're approaching retirement. So you could go in there, feel confident, know what you're going to do and consume your time with, and you'll just be so much happier if you do that. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. And again, our list can go on and on. We've got a client that makes these beautiful cutting boards, right? But he answers to really no one still, right? So I mean, again, he's making these cutting boards, sells them, created an LLC. It's not that complicated, and he's good at it, and they look amazing, and he enjoys it. So, but he makes a little bit of pocket money from that, right? And so again, there's tons of lists. I've got books out there to share with you if you're looking for ideas. And we can certainly talk to you about, some potential ideas. Not everybody wants to work, and I get it, and that's fine. But like you mentioned, Jake, it does help if you're lost a little bit and you're looking for this new purpose. There's nothing wrong with that of doing something to earn a little bit extra cash and give you some enjoyment. Very good. Well, Jake, as we wrap up our show here, a quick summary of everything. Save early and often, invest wisely. Don't waste money on stuff that you don't value. Pay off dumb debt, leverage smart debt, develop other income streams, passive income streams, or develop active income streams, right? But these are in our opinion, some very important steps that you can take today to help ultimately make work optional for you and your family and glide on into retirement instead of being so stressed and anxious about it. I missed anything, Jake?
Nope, I think you nailed it. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, and again, thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't already liked and subscribed our content, please do that. Please share it. Certainly, we're going to keep cranking out new episodes of Upticks all the time. Our subscriber count continues to grow. I do have a weekly newsletter that comes out Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. If you're not subscribed to that, I do encourage you to do that. If you want to know how to do that, you can go to falconwealthadvisors.com or just send me an email, jake@falconwealthadvisors.com, and I'll simply add you to the list. Jake, how's the best way to contact you?
Yep, my email is cross, so CROSS @falconwealthadvisors.com. We always make this joke, but Jake stole my first name, so we can use that. And I'm out there on LinkedIn as well. So those are the two best ways to contact me.
Perfect. And we're recording this on a Friday morning. Jake, have you had any plans for the weekend?
I do not. I'm actually, I might be doing a little bathroom remodel.
Ooh.
So I'm planning for that. The financial planner I am. So I'm, figuring out a budget for that, figuring out the costs associated with it, and trying to find a good person to help me with it. And this is the hardest part for me, is trying to figure out how I want to design it. Right. It's just not really a strong suit of mine. So I'm using some help from the people around me to figure out color schemes and all the fun stuff.
Good luck with all that. I leave that up to my wife.
Sure.
So I'm actually headed to St. Louis. My wife's cousin married or is marrying. I guess they got married in England. He's a European basketball player. Pretty cool. And she played basketball in college also. I think that's how they met. But so their family is from St. Louis. So we're going to drive on over this afternoon, go to a family barbecue tonight, and the wedding. I guess they're doing like an American wedding, and they already did the European wedding. So kind of cool. She gets 2 weddings out of the deal. I wouldn't want to be their parents, though. It's probably not cheap.
Yeah, it's probably pretty expensive.
Right. So, but we're looking forward to that. And yeah, so again, thank you all for tuning in. And thank you, Jake, again for joining me. And we hope you have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Upticks. Click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. Also, be sure to visit our website, falconwealthadvisors.com, and click the Contact Us button if you'd like to meet with Jake and his team.